everyone, I am Chris, this is Simply Classic, and today we are going to do a Gemella Wallet hack. So my real-time, real-life tester, when I brought her the wallet, the first thing she said was, oh, you need to make this into a crossbody. So we decided that instead of changing the entire pattern into a crossbody, we were just going to do a hack for it. And I've also seen a couple people on the Simply Classic Inspiration group ask about how to change it into a crossbody. So that's what we're doing today. It's not a quick, it's not a long video. This is just a quick video. There's, you got to cut some strap pieces. I changed my cell phone pocket just a little bit. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So here is the original Gemella wallet. We've got that cell phone pocket in the back that unsnaps from the top, okay, so that your cell phone goes in sideways. This is what we're making today. This is out of the Barely Pink leather. You just need one hide to do the whole thing. Although I did do my strap out of chain. And what I did was just cut little 1/4-inch pieces of the leather and thread it right in that chain. It comes out so beautifully. The other thing I did different was put a twist lock, because I felt like if I was wearing this on my hip and I accidentally bumped it or somebody else bumped it, this could easily, come open, and I certainly didn't want that to happen. I changed the configuration of the card slot slightly so that you see my ID wallet is at the bottom here, and on both sides I am able to pull from the top to get my credit cards out, so that when I'm wearing this on my hip, I can just open this, open the bag slightly and grab whatever credit card I need without having to open it all the way and try to pull from underneath to get the credit card out. So I show you how to do that. And then my cell phone pocket is slightly smaller, only because I wanted that. I wanted to be able to get that cell phone in and out easier. And you can see, because this is going in the other direction, this little crossbody, I have this snapping and unsnapping from the top instead of the side. So I show you how to do all that in this quick video. The only extra pattern pieces we did are these little tiny strap connectors, and then whatever kind of crossbody strap you want. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It's going to be a quick one just to show you some basics on it, and we're going to hack this wallet right into this crossbody. Super cute. All right, so stay tuned. Let's go over those changes. Okay, let's go over the difference in the pattern pieces, and there's really not that many. You're going to cut your flap exactly the same, glue it together, edge coat, all of that. You're going to cut your main body piece the same width in length. Everything's exactly the same there. Now, I'm using leather this time, and I decided to quilt the leather. This angle is a 30-degree angle. So in order to find out what that is, you take a ruler. This is just an omni-grid ruler, and it's got a 30-degree angle on there. So you take the angle, or that 30 degrees, and you place it against the straight edge on one side, and it gives you what that angle is. And you just draw a line. Once you get all, and then I moved it an inch up and then an inch down. Once you get all of those lines set, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to come to this side, and you're going to do it in the opposite direction. So that's how easy it is. And you can use a 45-degree angle, 30-degree angle, 60-degree angle, whatever kind of angle that you have on your ruler. I decided that for this, I wanted the 30-degree angle, and I really do think it looks pretty cool. I also decided to use a twist lock on this, because I feel like if you've got a magnetic lock, if something happens and you bump into it, or I don't know, somebody else accidentally bumps into it, you get it caught on something, this could open, and this could open really easily. And so I didn't want that to happen. With a twist lock, once it's twisted and locked, it's locked. The lining pieces for that piece are exactly the same. I have 2 lining pieces, and I decided to go ahead and just use a linen for that, and I put some woven fuse 2 on the back. The credit card slots are all exactly the same, or the credit card slot piece is the same, but I did make a change to how I cut these slots, and I'll go over that with you in just a minute. The zippers, same. I've got the lining piece on the back. I've got my piece of Decaville Light that I'm going to slide in right here in the middle, just like we do on the original bag. I'll just kind of put a little heat on that to tack that down. On my bag, I decided that since this is going to be folded up like this, and it's going to be on my hip, when I open it, I want to make sure that I'm pulling all of the credit cards straight up. Okay, so I want to pull it straight up from this side, and I want to pull the credit card straight up from this side. So in order to do that, I took my pattern piece and I laid it down and traced out my dots on this upper side, the one without the ID window. So that was just like normal. Then what I did is for this side, let me turn this around, I took the same pattern piece, but I ended up putting the middle part of the pattern piece on the edge of the piece. Okay, and then went ahead and traced in everything before I cut it. As you see, the window, the ID window is down here at the bottom. So the ID window is going to be in the middle of this bag so that when I open it up, I can pull the ID out from here instead of pulling it out in the other direction. I hope that makes sense. So in this one here, you see the difference, and even if I turn this around, you can kind of see how the ID window is opposite. Down here on this one, and it's up here on this one. You can achieve that just by turning that pattern piece around. Okay, once you do that, you install all of your credit card slot pieces exactly the same. When you measure the first measurement to put this slot in, which is the first slot on this side, you're going to use the same measurement in the pattern from the top. When you go to do it on the other side, you now are measuring, you put your ID window in just like normal, and then when you go to do the first slot, you're going to measure 6 1/4 inches down, draw a line. You can kind of see the remnants of my line right there. And then that's where you're going to fold that first slot. From there, you're going to go up 1/2 inch just like you do in the original pattern. Okay. The other thing that I did is I've decided I'm going to use one of our chains, and I just took pieces of 1/4 inch leather, the same thing, the Barely Pink, and just ran it through to give it kind of a neat effect. My snap tab is exactly the same. I cut 2 pieces for my strap connectors. Now, I'm using 1/2 inch D-rings here because this is not a very big bag, and these hooks on the very end of the chain fit on these 1/2 inch D-rings perfectly. So I just cut, because I'm using leather, I cut 1/2 inch wide because this is a 1/2 inch D-ring. Okay, so 1/2 inch wide this way. The length is 3 inches. Now, if you're using a faux, you could certainly cut it 1 inch and fold the edges over. I am just doing the 1/2 inch, and I do have some anti-stretch tape on the back of this so that it won't stretch out. But this bag is only going to hold some credit cards and a cell phone for the most part, so it's not like there's going to be a lot of pressure on these strap connectors. The other thing I changed is on this part of the bag. Okay, we're going to have this folded and on our hip. This will be the front. The flap will come over, and on the back is where I want my cell phone. But my cell phone pocket, I'm going to want, instead of pulling my cell phone out this way from the side, like this one is, okay, I want it to come out the top. I've got a smaller cell phone, So I kept the width of this cell phone pocket the same. Okay, so when you cut the cell phone pocket out, it's like this. The height, I should say the height. The height is exactly the same as what the pattern says. The width I took off 2.5 inches. And now when I turn this, like the height and the width switch places. But the reason why I did that is because when I put my cell phone in, I want it to be sticking up just slightly so that I can grab it easily. And if it's down in that pocket too deep, I think it's going to be difficult to grab in and out. So once I do the seam at the top and fold this over, there's just going to be a little bit of this sticking out. And then my snap will hold that down. Okay. So those are the only differences. So, and of course the cell phone pocket, you got to cut the lining the same size as your pocket. I've decided to use the nylon adhesive backing for this because number one, the cell phone will slip in and out easier because it's kind of slippery. And then also I want to be able to adhere the lining to the back of the pocket without having it shift around on me when I'm trying to sew it on the bag. All right. So once you get all your pieces cut out, you want to go ahead and build your credit card slots, add your zippers on, put your lining on, and you're going to be to this point. And I'm going to refer you back to the original video to see how to do all that. You're going to want to quilt your main piece if you decide you want to quilt, if you're using leather, or you can, I mean, you can do this however you want, but if you are going to quilt, you want to go ahead and do that and get this piece ready to go. Before we attach this piece to our assembled credit card section, we need to go ahead and add our cell phone pocket and sew that on. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the cameras so that you can go ahead and see me do that. And because the measurements are a little bit different, what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to center this on this piece here. So first let's get the cell phone pocket together and we'll see exactly how we need to center it on here. Okay, the first, you see I have no stabilizer on the back of this pocket because I am using leather and I want the cell phone pocket to have some give because the cell phone pocket kind of has a little bit of a lip here so that you can get the cell phone in. I'm leaving it off and we'll see how it goes, but I think it'll be okay. So we're going to take the lining and the cell phone pocket and we're going to put them right sides together and we're going to sew across one of these short edges. Okay, from here I'm going to peel the backing off of this adhesive. Okay, we're going to make sure that the seam allowance is adhered down. And then we're going to take the bottom and we're going to match it up to the bottom of this pocket. And I do want a little bit of the main part of the bag, or the main part of the pocket to show on the back so that I don't have any lining peeking through. Got a little bit of lining here on the side. I'm just going to cut that off. And now we're going to top stitch right here across the top of the pocket. In the original construction, we cut out little 1/2-inch squares. We want to do the same thing. And of course, this time we're going to do it at the bottom corner here. And you just want to make sure that if you do decide to make this pocket a little bit shorter, if you're going to use this particular crossbody method, you want to measure your phone Because again, I've got a very small phone, so you might want to either not change the size of the pocket or not take off the full 2.5 inches. So I'm just cutting out 1/2 inch squares. And then from here, I am going to put some 1/8 inch double-sided tape. And this is just to help us hold it as we stitch. Okay, let's take a look at this main piece. So a couple things. I want to make sure that when I put this on, I have the pocket, the top of the pocket, going up towards the short side of the bag. Because if I don't, I'll end up putting it on backwards. It will end up falling out. You got to remember this is going to be folded in half and it's going to be with this side up. And I want to place it, and this is kind of preference for you. I want to place it so that, okay, before I say this, I'm going to put my flap in between the 2 layers instead of attaching it on the exterior, because I don't want the flap to get in the way of pulling the cell phone in and out when it's in the pocket. Okay, so I don't want there to be any problem with that hitting as I'm trying to pull it out. So the flap's going to go in between the layers, and these strap connectors are going to go in between the layers as well, right next to the flap. So that will take that aspect of it out of the way. When we go to edge coat, we're going to want to make sure that we leave enough room that we can get in here and edge coat without getting it on the flap. That's going to be the only thing there that we'll have to contend with. So I want to make sure that I don't put this up too high, that the phone is sticking out up at the top of the bag. And I also need to remember that I have to put my snap tab on here as well. So I'm just going to find the center of this. And just put a clip here so I can kind of get an idea of where this is going to be. And just like when I attached the snap tab on the on the wallet, I don't want this to be super tight because then my cell phone won't fit in there very well. I need to make sure I give it just a little bit of room, a little bit of a buckle there. So we need to attach the snap tab on the other side of the snap tab on this piece. So I'm just going to kind of mark my center. I'm going to come down about 3/4 inch, and I'm going to attach the other side of the snap here, and then we'll go ahead and install it. Okay, I'm kind of winging this as I'm going through, and I decided that instead of putting this up at the top and then having the flap there as well, we're going to have a lot of layers right there. So I've decided to move this down, and I'm just going to sew the flap onto the back of the wallet after I get the pocket on. So I'm going to, I've already marked, have I marked the center? Let me look. I don't think I've marked the center. Let me mark the center. And then we're going to put the bottom of this pocket on first. I'm going to put it 1 inch from the center. So, go ahead and draw a line. I'm just going to draw a really faint line. There. So that's where the bottom of the pocket's going to go. So I'm going to peel the backing off of the tape and place that right on that line. And I want to make sure the pocket's centered. And we're going to stitch using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just along that bottom line here. I am going to back stitch because I want to make sure this pocket stays on really good. And you notice I did not quilt the pocket. I also did not quilt the flap. I think this is going to be a nice contrast. Okay, so from here I'm going to kind of fold this pocket right at that 1/2 inch mark because I want this pocket to have depth. And I'm going to draw a line 3/4 of an inch in on both sides. And that's going to be where I place the side pieces. So come 3/4 of an inch here and here as well. So it doesn't matter which side you start on. Peel the backing off the tape, and I'm going to fold, push this piece down, okay, to have that depth, and then fold this piece. I'm going to go ahead and kind of shape it a little bit, and I'm going to put it right on that line, or as close as I can to it. So you see the corner here, it's gonna once I fold this back, it's gonna form a little bit of a corner, okay? And we're going to stitch this using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I just want to make sure it's as straight as possible. And make sure you backstitch. Okay, you can kind of fold this, form that corner. And then we are going to do the same thing with this other side. We're going to peel the backing off the tape, place that right against the line, and sew down. Now what we want to make sure of, just like in the original wallet, we want to make sure that the distance between the pocket and the top is the same on both sides. So I'm going to measure this. It ends up being about 2 5/8 inches. So I want to make sure that 2 5/8 is where the top of that pocket is. I'm just going to make a tiny little mark there. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're just going to fold this in, put it right against that line. All the way down. Okay, and then we're going to stitch. All right, I'm going to stick my phone in, make sure it fits really well. It does. Go ahead and form that little, and I even have a little stand on my phone. You see it's going to fit well. Now, you will also see that because I cut my pocket shorter, my tab is not quite long enough. So I'm going to recut a new tab so that I can make sure that it all fits nicely, and I'm able to take the tab and sew it right here to the bag. Okay, so this is, as you can see, kind of a little experiment. You're gonna have to, every phone's different. You're gonna have to kind of see what your phone, you know, the size, what it will fit, what won't fit, as far as width and depth. I'm glad I had it sticking out as much as it did, because I want to be able to get it in and out easily. But again, that tab just needs to be a little bit longer. So we'll take care of that. I'm going to add, so in case you have the same phone I do, I have a 13, not a Max, just a regular 13. I'm going to add 1 inch, I think 1 inch will be plenty, to the tab. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm also, from here, you're going to continue on and add your zippers on the side from this other piece. You know, just go ahead and finish up that part of the wallet, put the lining on, and then we will come back to finish it up and sew it all together. Okay, I've made my tab bigger, and in order to figure out where to sew this, I'm going to actually just put my cell phone in the pocket and just kind of push this down, and then I will know exactly where to sew across. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to make sure that my lining is out of the way, because I don't want it to come through to my lining side. Just to make sure it's nice and straight. Put a little bit of double-sided tape if you'd like to on here. It's just about the same size as my presser foot, so I'm just going to stitch across first, and then I'll take my phone out and do a second line of stitching. All right, so from here, we want to go ahead and stitch the rest of this wallet together. Now, our flap and our strap connectors are going to go on the back side. So, of course, this here is the back side. It's going to be the side with the cell phone pocket. And I've put a little bit of double-sided tape on my flap. The flap has already been edge painted and is ready to go. And I don't want to just stick it between the, I'm going to call it the front, which is going to be where the credit card slots are, and the lining. I really want to stitch it to the back here, which is where the quilted piece is in the lining, so that when this flips, it flips up over this credit card section and includes the back, if that makes sense. So, and I don't necessarily want to put it between my lining pieces either, so that when you open up the pocket, you can see it. I'm going to stick it right in here. So I'm going to take the backing off the tape. I'm just going to center it on here. And then I'm going to flip this over and just make sure that that's going to close okay, and it's going to be right about middle. Everything looks good. So now we need to add our strap connectors as well. So the strap connectors are going to go on either side. Say one here and one here. Just like that. So I can go ahead and I'm going to put them in pretty deep. I can go ahead and put some double-sided tape on here to hold that, or I can just try to hold it as I go. I'm going to hold it as I go, but I'm also going to make sure that I clip all of this in place really well before I start sewing. Now, we're going to stitch a 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to trim this back to 1/8. So don't worry if you can't match this up exactly right. I mean, you want to come close, these two edges. But if they're not perfect, it is okay. And then as we sew, we're also going to be catching our lining on the inside. Oh, strap connector's disappeared. There it is. So again, I want to get these in as far as I can without it interfering with the hardware. I'm going to stitch from the right side. I'm going to start over here on this side, and as I go down this edge, I'm going to stitch using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance because we're not going to be able to cut this back at all. It's going to stay just as it is. And then as I turn the corner here, I'm going to take that 1/4 of an inch, and then up here take a 1/4 of an inch too. We'll be able to cut this even, we'll be able to cut this even. This is going to stay as it is. So make sure you're happy with how it's lined up. And then we will go ahead and stitch. Okay, and I'm going to turn, and we're going to do a 1/4 of an inch down this way. I'm going to put something over this strap connector right here because I can see it might catch. And you see I did do a back stitch there because I want to make sure that stays nice and tight and then I don't have any problems with anything coming apart. So from here, I'm going to take this over to my cutting table. I'm going to use my roto cutter and my ruler to go ahead and trim up this edge. I'm going to trim up this edge so that both of these are 1/8 of an inch. And then all the way around, I'm going to edge coat the wallet. I can go ahead and sew the line right down the middle while I'm here to split this into 2 sections. So let me make sure I know where the middle is. I'm going to mark that. Draw a faint line here. I'll go ahead and stitch that. And then from here, I'm going to, like I said, finish all this up and then we'll come back and take a look. Okay, here it is. Isn't it cute? It is just the perfect thing to carry your credit cards, your cell phone, and that is about it. I mean, it is just amazing. And look at how pretty it is. This barely pink leather is just amazing. So I, of course, quilted it. You saw how I did all that using this chain. Now, if this chain does not work for you for a crossbody, you can either add to it by putting some pieces of leather along here, snapping it on, and then maybe adding 6 or 8 inches, and then using a D-ring or an O-ring to snap on the chain, something like that. Or you can just use an adjustable strap, like a pre-made webbing adjustable strap would be really cute. Or you can, of course, make a strap out of the actual material that you're using. So any of those would work. The back, I have my little cell phone pocket, and you can see my cell phone is sticking up, which I really like, because now it's going to be easier for me to just unsnap this and grab it without having to be digging in there if the phone is ringing. So that fits that perfect. And then, of course, as we open this, I made sure that all of my credit cards are coming out the top. So I can take and, let me grab it, I can pull it from the top on this side, and then on this side I'm doing the same thing. I'm pulling from the top. So as I am wearing the bag, I'm able to pull from the top on both. I mean, it's going to make that a lot easier to just pull up. So this is the Gemella Wallet Hack into a crossbody. Super cute, super stylish. And basically, it's just a couple of extra pieces, some strap connectors and a little cell phone pocket change. That was just my preference. So, of course, this is the original wallet. So we went from this to this. Super exciting. So, simple changes, quick video, just to let you know how to do it. And until next time, everybody, happy sewing.